the one, the only, Ben Good morning and welcome to Yeshiva YouTube. Iyun to Lean On. Today we're doing Orach Chaim Siman Reish Mem Hey Hilchos Shabbos, concluding another week. Shulchan Aruch Yomi. This week we started Hilchos Shabbos. I want to wrap up basically what we did in the previous three Simanim, Reish Mem Gil, Reish Mem Dal, and today Reish Mem Hey. There's three different halachas, just to make it very clear. What seems to me which comes out of these halachas is as follows. There's a difference between metaltlin and mechuber, meaning what? If someone's using, right, you're not allowed, first of all, let's make this clear, you're not allowed to tell a non-Jew to do something for you on Shabbos. Even if it's his own place, even if he's the one doing the work, you can't tell him doing Shabbos. Amir lakum, right? And that's for sure usher. Whether it's Darabanan the rice, I'll get to in a second. Let's say, right, Reish Ben Gil talked about a case where you have something which is mechubar l'karka, you have a field, you have a merchatz, you have a store. In this case, we learned in Reish Ben Hey, something which is attached to a brick and mortar store, attached to the ground. So there's a problem. Marasayan. Marasayan is a big problem. Now, Marasayan is a problem if you rent it out to a non-Jew, but no one knows that you rented out the non-Jew. And people are in the spa on Shabbos, they're working the field on Shabbos. You can't benefit from that money that you earned for the thing. Now, why can't you benefit from the money, right? Even though he rented it from you, or Kibolis is another example, where let's say he buys it for all Shabbos of the year, and he pays you a certain amount of money, and he's doing it on his own accord. He could run it on Shabbos, he cannot. It's not like you're paying him. If you pay him to do work on Shabbos, it's a schir yom by the hour or by the day, that for sure is aser. That's like a mir al-akum. You can't do that. So if it's mechubar l'karka, if something which is attached to the ground, and you're receiving benefits from that, that's a part of marasayan. Now marasayan, I talk on Reish Mem Gimel whether it's daraisa, darabanan. It's a machlokas whether it's daraisa, darabanan. I mentioned that marasayan I believe is daraisa, but I'm retracting a little bit. I think marasayan we assume is darabanan. It could be it's daraisa, but there's definitely opinions that hold it's darabanan. Even according to the opinions that hold it's darabanan, the problem with mechubar l'karka is that it's shlichus. Now, there's two types of shlichus. There's a shlichus where metaltlin, a shlichus with mechubar. Shlichus metaltlin is where I tell someone, sell some merchandise from me, right, on your own accord. So the money that I earn from that merchandise is metaltlin. There's no chalos, there's no status. Land has a status. It's always going to remain there. The only thing that the non-Jew is doing with merchandise, he's doing a maisa, an action of selling it, a maisa mechira, an action of selling it. So when it comes to an action of selling something, so if he does it adaiti denafsha, even though people of marasayin look at it and say it's wrong, so can you do it? Yes, you can do it because it's metaltalin, and there's no. Even though there's a problem with marasayin, it might look like you actually hired him to do it. When it comes to metaltalin, it's only the maisa, and there's no ein shlichus la'akum. A non-Jew is not part of bnei shlichus, says in Zechas Gittin, and they can't be an act of shliach. They can't be acting in my stead. They can't be a yad arichta acting in my stead like they are part of me, because they're not part of me. Non-Jews are different than Jews in halacha. However, therefore the amir la'akum is only derabanan when it comes to the maisa. So therefore, it's maras ayin on a derabanan, which is a trade derabanan, which is mutter. Now, we are choshesh because the machlokas and maras ayin is doraisa or derabanan. There's two opinions, right? Some say that you should be machmer, some should be mekel. So the ruling basically of the Ramah is if it's a hefsed gadol, you're gonna lose a lot of money. I would say $1,000 or something like that. You can rely on and be mekel over there and take the money over there and not wear the maras ayin. You could assume maras ayin is derabanan, it's a trade derabanan. And if it's a hefsed mu'at, less than $1,000, so then you shouldn't profit from it because it's a possibility maras ayin is daraisa. Maras ayin daraisa on a derabanan of the shlichus derabanan. You're la'akum at least derabanan because it looks like you're selling a shliach. He's not actually your shliach. So therefore, it's a machlokus, and therefore the Rama makes a pshar, he makes a compromise. If it's a big loss, rely on the mekilim, the maras ayin is derabanan, and a small loss, be machmer that it's del raisa. Now that's all when it comes to metaltalin. When it comes to mechubar lakarka, So there's actually two parts to mechuber l'karka. For example, building a house. When it comes to building a house, right? So even though I didn't tell the non-Jew build it on Shabbos. I said build me a house. Whenever it's finished, it's finished. I'm paying you for the construction. He can choose to build it on Shabbos, right? But it's Maras Ayin if it's within the town limits. So people will see it. Hey, he must have told him to build on Shabbos. Now, even though he didn't, right? There's a problem with Maras Ayin. So again, Maras Ayin is either Darabban or Daraisa. But here, by mechuber l'karka, it's not just shlichus for the ma'isa. Because when it comes to metaltalin, he sells something. It's only the action that he's doing. But karka, land, a tanur, which is attached to the ground, industrial oven, which are places it doesn't have to be literally physically the ground. It has to be something which is set in place. It's hard to move these objects. So if they're not going to move so easily, they're part of the ground. Mechuber l'karka is part of the karka. So that always remains. The status always remains over there. So even though there's no shlichus on the ma'aseh, but everyone agrees that when all that's important is the totzah, right? He can't act as me, but his results could transfer back to me, and that's shlichus on the totzah, on the results, not on the action. And that shlichus is a parsha of shlichus d'oraisa. Technically, he's my shliach mid'oraisa. So now you have a d'oraisa of shlichus with marasai and darabban. So it's a machlokes. Rabbeinu Tam and the other Rishonim. Rabbeinu Tam says, can I enter that house? He built it around Shabbos. That's the question. Can I enter the house? Can I enter the house? Rabbeinu Tam says you can be mekil on the opinions that say that, I guess, marasai is darabban. And in a certain sense, it's possible this is not shlichus d'oraisa, because I didn't receive anything in return. He built the house. I'm going in the house. He's not giving me money. If he's giving me money, we'll see in a second, that's worse. If I'm earning profits from that house, from the mechuber, that's worse. It's not going to be allowed according to everybody. But here it's just a matter of going into the house. So the question is that really, it's a question, according to Rabbeinu Tam and other opinions, is that considered to be a shlichus mid'oraisa? Because when I go into the house, I'm not just really benefiting from the totzah, right? I'm not directly getting anything from that. I'm going in the house, right? So therefore, it's more stringent than metaltalin. Rabbeinu Tam says you can go in the house. We pass on Rabbeinu Tam. However, the last halacha here in Reish Mem Hey talks about if you have an oven, which is mechuber l'karka, and a non-Jew went forcibly, he went into your bakery, unlocked the door, baked something in your industrial oven. So there's a problem Marasai. He did a daite de nafshi. You didn't even tell him to do it. He did it against your will. And then he said, I'm going to pay you back for using your industrial oven. I'm going to give you some of the bread. Or I'll give you some of the profits that I earned by selling the bread. That you for sure can't take according to Rabbi. There's no machlokas about that. Why? Because there, again, it's mechuber l'karka. So therefore, it's a shlichus d'oraisa over here. And it's definitely shlichus d'oraisa. Not like Rabbeinu Tam, because there it's just a matter of entering the house. Is that considered a tangible benefit I'm getting from the shlichus? So maybe it's not shlichus d'oraisa. Here it's v'alei shlichus d'oraisa, because the totzah of my karka, or mechuber l'karka, went back to me in the form of bread or in the form of some sort of payment, remuneration. Either whether it was bread or whether it was money. And that's the biggest problem. The problem is taking profits from mechuber l'karka, which is the essence of what we're talking about Reish Mem Hey about a store. And therefore, when it comes to that, right, there's a big difference. If the reason a store is okay is when it's shutfus, because if it's a partnership, neither of us own the karka, right? We don't own the land, right? If I have shutfus in a store with someone, neither of us own the land. We own the land together, which is nothing. You don't own it by yourself. In order to own something, you have to be the sole proprietor. Ownership means that I own it, no one else owns it. When we're shutfim, right, we both own it. It's basically no one owns the land, but we're splitting the profits, which is basically metaltalin. And that's why, again, the Ramah is imchalik in hefsed gadol already in the Ramah in Sif Aleph over here says hefsed gadol, like we said in metaltalin, hefsed gadol you can be make, hefsed a muat, a little hefsed you should be machmir, which is exactly metaltalin. But when it comes to the last halacha, is talking about where it belongs to you. It's clearly belonging to you. There's a problem with marasai. That's the rice d'Rabbanan. Even marasai is d'Rabbanan, but here is shlichus d'Oraisa, because you're getting something in remuneration, getting something back. And that's a totzah. That's a real totzah. Entering a house, okay, maybe I get some shelter from the house. Is that really considered a benefit or something like that? But here it's for sure a benefit. I'm getting either bread back, a tangible benefit. I'm getting money for that. That I for sure can't take because of marasai. And even if marasai is d'Rabbanan, but the shlichus is d'Oraisa. That's a summary of all these halachas. I think it's very clear. Hope you enjoyed today's share. See you in the next one.